For the longest time, I didn't talk about what was going on in my head. Because as a guy, you're not supposed to, right? We're supposed to be strong, tough, keep it all together. But what happens when you can't? When it feels like you're falling apart inside, and the weight of your own feelings feels like it's crushing you. I remember my first panic attack. I was sitting in my car, about to go into work, and suddenly I just couldn't breathe. And it felt like my chest was caving in, and my hands, they were shaking. I thought that I was dying. I didn't know what was going on. And the worst part, I was too scared to tell anyone. Because who was I supposed to talk to? My buddies at work? My family? They would all think that I was weak. Or worse, crazy. So I kept it to myself. I buried it deep inside, just hoping that it would go away. But it didn't. It got worse. I started avoiding people, making excuses to stay at home. The anxiety, the depression, I couldn't take it anymore. It felt like I was in a dark tunnel with no way out. And then one day, I just couldn't handle it anymore. I was in my apartment, alone, and I just broke down. I cried for hours. I felt so alone, so hopeless. That's when I knew that I needed help. But asking for it was the hardest thing that I have ever done. Because admitting that I was struggling felt like admitting I was a failure. I called my mom. She's always been my rock, And for the first time, I told her everything. I told her about the panic attacks, the depression, the thoughts that scare me. And you know what she did? She listened. She didn't judge me. She didn't tell me to man up. She just listened. And she told me that we would get through this together and that everything was going to be okay. I started to see a therapist, and I learned that mental health is not something to be ashamed of. It's not a weakness, and it's okay to talk about. And it's okay to ask for help. But that's not the message we as men usually get, is it? We're taught to be stoic, to hide our emotions, to tough it out. We need to change the conversation. We need to create a culture where men don't feel judged for sharing their feelings, their fears, where they won't be ridiculed. Because that mindset is killing us, literally. The rates of suicide, addiction, and untreated mental illness for men are staggering. I started talking about it with my friends. At first, it was awkward. Because how do you talk about anxiety and depression over a beer? But I did. And you know what? They opened up too. Turns out I wasn't the only one struggling. They had their own fears, their own battles. And talking about it brought us closer together. It made us stronger. We need to support each other. We need to be there for our friends, our family, our brothers, because it's not about being strong or tough. It's about being real. It's about being human. And I think that's something we can all strive for. So if you're out there and you're struggling, please just talk to someone. Reach out. It's okay to not be okay. And for the rest of us, let's listen. Let's support. Let's end the stigma against mental health, because our lives depend on it.